Marine biome is far and away the most extensive biome in the world, covering a huge portion of the Earth's oceans, which themselves comprise around 2/3 of the Earth's surface. However, we'll be taking a look at largely just one highly important ecosystem. The California current ecosystem is one of the most diverse temperate marine ecosystems on Earth. This is largely because of a process known as upwelling. Colder water can usually hold more nutrients than warmer water, but since it's more dense, it's normally stuck at the bottom. However, on the California coast, like in certain areas around the world, winds in the coast cause surface water to be displaced, meaning the cold, nutrient-rich water wells to the surface. The California current, one of the major currents in the North Pacific, keeps the waters cool. These are the major abiotic factors of the ecosystem, because massive amounts of phytoplankton can take advantage of the nutrients and the sunlight to grow as the ecosystem's producers, which in turn attracts a great many consumers who feed on them. The reason why water in these areas has kind of a greenish color to it is because of the sheer amount of plankton. The temperature stays fairly constant throughout the seasons, though it is colder in winter, with more rain falling as well. Interestingly enough, in the winter months, a countercurrent running in the opposite direction of the main California current appears, called the Davidson Current. Here are some plant life, or to be more correct, producer life, that live in this biome. There are many varieties of phytoplankton that live in this environment. These microscopic life forms, which are by and large not actually plants, but rather protists called algae. They photosynthesize just like plants do, but algae have simpler structures. One adaptation that some of these phytoplankton have to survive in the ecosystem is the ability to stay afloat in the water column. Diatoms are a particular type of very abundant phytoplankton that have hard silicon shells, which would make them sink if they hadn't developed structures to keep them afloat, like for example bristles that made Chaetocereus stabilis, native to Maine, stay afloat. These adaptations allow them to have access to the sunlight, which allows them to photosynthesize and form the basis of the ecosystem's food web. Giant kelp is a very iconic feature of the California coasts, forming unique and amazing kelp forests that are home to a major ecosystem and in and of themselves. These kelp are not actually plants, but a type of multicellular algae that can grow up to 175 feet tall in certain conditions. These algae have developed gas bladders that give them greater buoyancy, which allows them to float higher in the water column to support their height, as well as a very fast growth rate of 10 to 12 inches per day. This makes photosynthesis easier, as they can reach the sunlight more easily. Seagrass is another common marine producer, but like the above examples, seagrass really are plants. They are vascular plants, just like most of the plants found on land. Like other vascular plants, they have developed roots that anchor them to the sediment below. But unlike algae, it is not just simple holdfast whose only purpose is to keep them in place. Seagrass have root systems like other vascular plants, which can absorb nutrients from the sediment through the roots. These nutrients help them survive. Here are some of the animals you might find in the ecosystem. The gray whale is one of the baleen whales, among the largest animals to ever exist. The gray whale, like other whales and marine mammals, has developed blubber fat to keep it warm in colder temperatures, like the waters of the California current, as well as giving it a source of energy in times where it can't find food. Gray whales make an annual migration up and down the California coast in large numbers. Sea urchins are a common type of echinoderm, which is common in the California coast ecosystem. They have evolved spines which protects them from predators, and are currently eating away at giant kelp due to the current lack of predators. Sea otters are a mammal species, which have evolved very thick fur, among the thickest of all mammals, which keeps them warm in cold water, which allows them to spend less energy keeping themselves warm. The ringed-billed gull is an extremely common bird found all up and down the coast. They've evolved the ability to soar without flapping their wings for periods of time. This allows them to conserve energy while flying, which allows for easier survival. Activities you can do in and around this biome include snorkeling, provided you bring a wetsuit as the water is quite cold for most of the year, canoeing or kayaking, fishing in the abundant waters of the California current, or whale watching, particularly during the gray whale migration season. Things to remember. The ocean can be a dangerous place, and many underestimate the risks of drowning and other associated hazards, such as rogue waves and rip currents. The terrain of the California coast is full of cliffs and sharp rocks, which can be hazardous if not approached with caution. Another important thing to be wary of is the fact the waters are often quite cold, even if the air temperature is warm, and the cold California current keeps waters cold for a very long way south. You should visit the California current ecosystem soon, as it is under serious threat from several different factors. Overfishing places many stock of fish under threat, as the current rate at which the worldwide stocks of many popular California fish species have been overfished to unsustainable levels. This overfishing has crashed the local fishing industry in the past, and may very well again in the future. The giant kelp forests are at risk because of booming sea urchin populations, due to a lack of otter and sea star predators, and a lack of factors that are also contributing to the damage to the kelp forests. As with other oceans of the world, water pollution is a major danger for this ecosystem, especially in areas so intensive in agriculture and industry as California. Runoff from fertilizers is believed to be one of the causes of so-called red tides, mass blooms of toxic red algae that pose a deadly threat to many organisms, including potentially to humans. Lurking in the background, however, is a looming constant threat of climate change, which will have severe negative impacts on marine ecosystems around the world, including in California, as rising temperatures drastically alter the living condition of organisms there. A lesser-known consequence of carbon dioxide emissions is ocean acidification, where a chemical reaction turns the ocean slightly more acidic, wreaking havoc on many marine species. These are all the reasons why you should visit the incredible California current ecosystem.